Right, welcome everybody. Today we're going to do a really exciting session all about Terrence Howard and all of his principles. And we're going to fill in a lot of the blanks that have been left open from his chats with Joe Rogan. And we're going to talk not from the perspective of what mainstream science thinks about his principles and theories. We're going to talk from the perspective of Walter Russell's theories. So I have with me a world expert in Walter Russell. I'm very pleased to introduce Ilija Lakicevic, who was a professor of physics at the Max Planck Institute of Physics, which is about as high as you can go, before he left to pursue what he sees as the truths in physics. And indeed, he's written about 25 papers, all about the true concepts in science, such as the atom, gravity, magnetism. He's even rewritten E equals mc squared, Einstein's famous equation. He's also got a new version of pi as well, of the value of pi as well. So we'll get into all of those concepts and all of those aspects of his scientific theories. So I'm just going to read out the themes that we're going to get into so that everyone can understand what we're going to cover. First of all, we're going to talk about the concept of the atom and also what Walter Russell was missing, and also some of the things that Terrence Howard is missing about Walter Russell's theories and principles. Next, we're going to get into the periodic table, Walter Russell's periodic table, and we're going to talk about imagination as the seed of all creation. Then we're going to go on to electromagnetism and gravity, and then the ether and E equals mc squared. Then the Coulomb law, we're going to correct that and show you what's really happening. Platonic solids, matter, and the Dodecahedron is next. Then we'll cover mathematics, 1 times 1, understanding zero as well, and the true calculation of pi. Then the next will be straight lines and curvature. And finally, we're going to talk about consciousness, light, and knowing who I am. So it's a great pleasure to introduce to you Ilija Lakicevic, who's also the inventor of the product that I built a brand around, the Omnia Radiation Balancer. Naturally, he knows everything there is to know about radiation. But first of all, welcome, Laki. And as well as introducing yourself, I'd like to just launch straight into the concept of the atom as well. And when you're ready, I'll add the slides.
I am that I am. I'm lucky of sovereign domain. I know who I am, and that gives me freedom and sovereignty. I'm not physical being. I'm not mental being. I'm not spiritual being. I am sensual being. I'm consciousness. We human beings, we are consciousness. Quantum physics knows that consciousness creates everything, but they are on the way to discover what is consciousness and how consciousness creates. So consciousness is a permanent awareness of the compassionate state of I am, I exist being. And that is absolutely a base of everything. And without consciousness, nothing can appear. Consciousness creates everything. In order something to appear, to be created, consciousness, awareness must be present. And that we will use later also in explanation of many other issues. I would like to emphasize that I'm not here to make a Terrence wrong or me right or him right, me wrong. I'm here to present my perception, and I appreciate and accept his perception as his truth, but I'm presenting my perception as my truth. In the spirit of ancient wisdom, I honor your journey wherever you are at. So everybody has its own truth, its own perception. But when it goes about Walter's perception, maybe my perception regarding Walter's perception would be in many points different than Terrence's perception, but doesn't matter. We are free and sovereign beings. Okay.
We're not trying to make him wrong. We actually really like what he's opened up, all of the discussion points that he's opened up. But we think we have something really valuable to add to what he's saying that could take everything to the next level. Yeah.
I have studied Walter for 20 years. And so thoroughly, with my scientific background, I am a research professor in physics, the highest degree in physics. but working as an independent researcher since the last 24 years. I went out of official science because I didn't agree with scientific concepts. And I found out why scientific concepts are upside down of the true concepts. I'm thankful to that what I have learned in science. And then I come back to offer the right explanations, the right concept, the true concept. And it's time, in my humble opinion, to throw off the window, out of the window, all scientific concepts, because science has a long history of being wrong. So now it's time to introduce the right concept. So I'm about it. I published 41 scientific paper about it. I appreciate Walter as a great teacher, right? Like Nikola Tesla also, or Benjamin, others. But the essential point by Walter is that he missed the point with mind thinking, because consciousness creates everything with imagination. With imagination. He talks also at some points about imaginary rings, but then he talks about God's mind thinking. Thinking is very limited and inefficient in creation. Imagination is an innate, angelic tool of us human beings to create anything. It's an amazing tool, and we are now rediscovering that forgotten amazing tool and creating everything. But Walter talks about still magnetic light.
Yep.
And the universe that rests as a cause, and the electric universe of motion as an effect. So what he missed actually is that at the 0 point that still universe at rest is an intelligent point.
Yep.
And I have, when I published my paper about the right atom concept, I found proofs by astronomers that there are some patterns that are repeating in the universe, what is proof of the intelligence behind it. And of course, I used that discovery in order to consciously connect with that 0 point there, because that's me, that's consciousness, intelligence. And then I ask all the cells, all the atoms of the radiation to get balanced. And then there are measurements, and I succeeded in it. When I have realized power of the human conscious intent, there is no greater power in the whole creation unconscious intent, and it works. It is experimentally proved, and it works. And you know, Tim, you have Omnia radiation balancer, and there are measurements with the dark field microscopy and also
water crystal photography photos. Yeah, crystal, right. I mean, we show that your technology and your conscious technology has changed the vibration of the radiation and set it to what we call balance and centeredness. And then all EMF fields that come through your wireless devices are now harmonized, and they are therefore coherent with the human body. And that brings great benefit to your body, as we show in all of our tests. So that's an example of your conscious technology and, you know, all of the concepts that you know in physics in real life, you know, actually working in a product that's bringing great benefit to all of our customers.
This technology, I change consciously ICC 101. The reason 101 is 10 is a creation before we have started out of duality, the new beginning, one at the end. We'll call it ICC 101. I change consciously. And this technology is applicable in all the fields of human creative expression, not only for protection from radiation poisoning, because I call it radiation poisoning, which is more dangerous than any other poisoning because it is permanent, 24/7, all around us.
Yeah.
So, Tim, we can go further.
Yeah. So we're going to get into some of Walter Russell's diagrams, and you're going to explain exactly what's happening in each one. So
that's beautiful. I love Walter was a sculptor. His sketches, his drawings are so impressive. You don't need to read the text. You see everything if you know to read. You see here creation, four pairs of rings, four from both sides, and in four focal points, light rings, creating in the middle disc-like shape, which prolates, and makes a sphere. Later we will explain, and oblates. The question is here: who is the imaginer of these light rings? The answer is consciousness, and that is far beyond quantum, ahead of quantum physics. They are still not at that point that consciousness creates with imagination, and that we human beings are consciousness.
Bringing this into a real world example, obviously, this, I can understand how this works in our bodies. We are imagining our bodies. Our bodies are an electrical record of our consciousness, effectively. But what about things like trees? How do we apply this to things like trees that we see in everyday life?
The same, because everything starts with seed. Right. Your desire, a desire of consciousness to create a tree, for example, if you ask about it, is recorded in those light rings when they are compressed with gravity and appear in this 3D reality. It appears a tree. That's simple. Everything starts with desire. We create with desire. In the desire is the seed of creation, and the seed will be materialized according to that what is imagined. If the tree, it's tree. It's a crystal. It's a crystal. It's a body. It's a human body. Everything else.
Right. Okay. And so the process of an atom effectively coming to be is. Are we looking at the magnetic point that connects the zeros that we see, like in the second slide down? Is that dotted line? Is that effectively the magnetic still point, or the axis of it?
That is on the right side, on the left side, in the center of these rings. Four rings from one side, from the other side. This in the center, that is still magnetic point. Everything starts from this still universe at rest, where each point is the same point. That is why it is the undivided. It's a black, and then divided in imagination into two pairs of four rings, and then process of creation is very simple. We occupy a huge space with the imagined ring, and then compress that ring with gravity, so that the compression creates heat. Cold space is compressed into hot matter, and in the second process, that hot matter is expanded back into cold space. And that is very, very, very simple. If you need, we can go into details, but that is like a general explanation to understand that sequence interchange between compression and expansion. When this disc-like shape, the maximum of compression, becomes the sphere, like a carbon, then there is a change in rotation, and then that prolation, which made the sphere, will oblate at the end, and then in the equatorial plane, rings will be thrown off. But here is shown just this disc-like shape. We will see later. Go on with slides. So, next slide. That's wonderful slide. You see, both rings from both sides, four pairs of ring, compression in equatorial plane expansion, and that is that visible octave here with the carbon in the middle, the only element which closed the hole and became the true sphere, crystallizes into cube, and with highest melting point, highest density, that is pivotal element in the creation, also in a Volta's periodic chart of elements, and below you can see also that in the musical scale. It's wonderful. Let's go further. So, who doesn't believe that matter is an illusion? This ascended master Mirin Dayo, born in Rotterdam, in Netherlands, came just to show us that his body is an illusion when he is fully aware of his body. Look at the sword, through his body, even through heart, and nothing happened.
So this is just confirming that effectively all atoms are not physical matter. They're effectively rings of light that are just flicking on and off. And once you've got into that state where you can really understand that and release the attachment to your body as a physical entity, then you can become a master of the illusion, right?
Both sword and his body are made of light. So light goes through light, and then your perception decides what comes. Either it kills you if your perception is like that, or nothing happens, like in this case.
Right.
You decide.
Yep. Interesting.
That's my ICC, I changed technology 101. I made it very simple in the form of a sticker, when I can record my conscious intent, and it is confirmed with measurements that it is balanced.
So this is what we have in the Omnia radiation balancer sticker, and the importance of the centering of the wave field is all about the relationship between the magnetic still point at the center of the torus field of light, right? And if those two are in balance, if that's in perfect torus field form, with the light ring spinning around the magnetic point, then we have an electromagnetic field, or a magnetoelectric field, as you would call it, which is effectively in resonance or in harmony with all of the electromagnetic or magnetoelectric light rings of our body. So we then have that resonance. So we're turning electromagnetic field radiation into something that is compatible with our bodies.
What we are doing, we are just balancing the light rings, because each atom is made of light rings. When the light rings spinning around the geometric center, that radiation is balanced. But go to the next slide, it is better. And you see here, point one is a black circle, is a light ring spinning about geometric center. That radiation is balanced. If that point is moved in the position 2, then that light ring is out of balance, disbalanced spinnings, and is spinning in this position, as you see here. And that radiation is imbalanced and causing imbalanced effects. So what I have succeeded is move this point 1 by all light rings of the microwave and other radiation to the geometric center 1, this point 2 to the 1, and then balance radiation, which is confirmed with measurements.
Fantastic. So we've talked a lot about the concept of the atom. Now, one of the other things is that, that a lot of people often criticize Walter Russell for being kind of like an artist, or all of his theories being sort of fantasy but not really proven. But what I like about what you tell us is that there are lots of examples that we can give whereby his theories are actually visible, and this is one of them. So please talk us through the particle concept.
I have found measurements in science and interpreted them properly, and they confirmed also with their measurements the right concept of particle, atom, and cell light ring spinning around centering 0 point. So here you have a gas discharge, small vacuum tube evacuated and filled the working gas, and then attached to the voltage. Cathode on the left is minus, anode is plus, and then what you see here, according to science, here is a cathode. There must be shooting electrons, some balls on spheres, but you see here clearly light rings. There are no electrons like imagined in science, because electrostatic unit of charge is nonsense. Electrostatic means motionless motion, because static is magnetic, electric is motion, electrostatic doesn't go together. And generally in science, there is a wrong belief that there is always smallest quantity of everything, of electricity, of charge is an electron, of thought is a tachyon, of light is photon. That is not true. There is no that smallest quantity. So here we see clearly that particle is a light ring. Go further to the next slide. Here, company DuPont in Chicago 50 years ago recorded atom of tungsten magnified 2,700,000 times. And what we see here, hexagonal structure. There are no electrons around. The center here, I have magnified on the left and tried to count photons and protons and neutrons. there are no protons and neutrons. You see, the scientific concept of atom is confirmed by their measurements that is wrong. That's not correct.
And also, there's space in the middle, right? Rather than the nucleus.
I magnified here on the left.
Yeah.
Count protons and neutrons here. Magnified 2,700,000 times. Nothing to see.
So it's, like you said earlier, it's the inverse of the scientific concepts that we see in our textbooks are an inversion of the truth. At the center of the atom is not the matter; it's actually empty space, and then you have the light ring forming around that magnetic still point at the center.
And then cell concept. Here is a dark field microscopy, red blood cells. On the left side, you see wonderful light rings with your eyes under microscope. In medical science, they don't talk about it. They call it illness. They call it sickle cells. But what they see under the microscope here, light rings, red blood cells, when blood is balanced, when body is balanced, when it is healed, then they are sickled, they are destroyed, unhealthy. And they have their measurements confirm the right concept, but they interpret it wrongly. But that's why I'm here. Pay attention to it and say, light rings, we see it clearly measured by scientific instruments.
What's really interesting, I love this picture because it just tells us so much, and it's really profound. But as you can see within this torus field of light, which makes up the blood cell, there's an empty space in the middle, and at the center of that empty space is that magnetic still point, the 0 point, and that holds the electric current of the blood cell in place. And then taking that one step further, the atom or the blood cell is effectively compressing itself into a blood cell, isn't it? And then it's expanding out to the ether, right? So it's going through that alternation or that interchange between the compression and the expansion, the making of the cell and then the expansion of the cell. So
that's not an exception, because that is the case with every piece of matter. Every atom is compressed and then expanded, but the frequency, the rate of compression expansion by an atom is around 500-600 gigahertz, billions times per second, and we cannot perceive it with our eyes, and we perceive this as a solid matter. It is not. It is created and decreated 600 billion times per second. The secret of creation lies in the volume. The small volume, the huge volume of space is compressed in small volume of matter. But the rate of that compression expansion frequency by an atom is of the order of a few hundred gigahertz. The universe is of few billions, many billions of years for just one sequence expansion compression.
So that's amazing. And what we're looking at on the left is a very healthy blood cell, because there is balance between the magnetic still point and the light ring. And there's also rhythmic balanced interchange between the compression and the expansion sequence. Therefore, we get really healthy cells. But when that relationship is compromised, the relationship between the magnetic and the light ring, then you get all of these ugly malformed cells that we can see on the right. In that case, you've got the opposite of that rhythmic balanced interchange. You've got all of the sequence between the compression and the expansion is all distorted, isn't it?
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Then I decided to make a measurement and confirm that what was missing by Walter. That was a mental concept, the right concept of atom, of cell, of particle. And I made a simple measurement. I took distilled water, put sodium chloride, because it's a balanced entity. And I knew that in the very center, still point is in geometric center. And I put two electrodes in the very center and measured zero potential. Motionless, no motion in the very center. Confirmation that that point is a 0 point. And then I moved one electron out of the center and the other one left in the center and measured the electric voltage. So, and then radially, and on the ring, copper ring immersed in there, and radially, I found everywhere electric current, which is confirmation that this 0 point is a source of these light rings which are spinning around it, and that is electric current. Wow. It's amazing. I demonstrated it in Amsterdam, in Hilversum, by the Global Bank Conference. I immersed in water just a copper ring and made with multimeter, measured with multimeter difference in electric potential between the center and the copper ring electric current. Nobody in science can explain that with the official concept of electric current, atom, electron, and everything else, only with the light rings.
We started off talking about the appreciation that Terrence Howard had for Walter Russell, but you've actually taken Walter Russell's theories and now experimentally proven that that is the case, right? That it is a fact that there's a magnetic still point at the center of the atom, and then the light ring borrows the energy from that magnetic point to spin itself into an electrical torus field of light. And that's what was missing from Walter Russell's books, is the actual evidence and the proof that that is the case.
Yes, it's true. That's I'm a little bit crazy because, okay, that's a simple experiment. Everybody can repeat it and can improve. And finally, look, NASA recorded in the universe light rings. You have, see on the big scale, on the right side, light rings, first, second, third, in the middle, sun. That's absolute proof.
Yeah.
They published this picture without knowing that we can use it as a proof for the right atom concept. They wouldn't have published it either.
Whoops, we accidentally showed everyone.
We love them. We thank them. We love them.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay. Well, that's great. So we've talked a lot about the atom, and hopefully if Terrence is watching, then he'll have learned a lot about Walter Russell's theories, and we've shown him some proof of all of those concepts in action.
You explained that in details for your audience, and I thank you for that. You got it right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So anyone that wants to really understand the relationship between the 0 point and the light ring can pause this and come back to it later. But that's effectively everything that Dr. Laki has taught us in one slide, which I think is really profound. So let's move on to Walter Russell's periodic.
Okay. I love this. Walter, Terrence got it almost properly, completely, but missed the point that the pivotal element is a carbon on the 26th position. And all elements before the carbon are compressing elements. And all elements are that different state of carbon. And then after carbon, expanding states of carbon. There is a compression until carbon and expansion after the carbon. And you see here at the very end, plutonium and other radioactive elements, which are expanding with almost speed of light. So fast and penetrating everything and destroying everything. Radioactivity. But what is interesting also and not understood well is the seed of all creation are inert gases, noble gases. There are 9. Alpha known, beta known, gamma known, not known before Walter published it, but then helium, neon, xenon, argon, krypton, and these are just to understand that around the sun there is a lot of helium, and they don't understand why. It's a seed of everything inert gases. Everything starts with that inert gases. In that inert gases recorded the idea of desire to create, let's say, 3, as you ask.
Yeah.
So the importance of the seed is amazing, undescribed. Everything starts with the seed. Seed is an imagined pattern. And gravity compresses cold space into hot matter. Starting from the seed and expanding back into seed so that the process can continue again, compression expansion from seed through the matter back to the seed. And a beautiful example would be to take fruit flies under microscope and to record all the stages from the imagined ring, the first thickness, everything else, the small body appearing from nothing. I don't have that microscope. There are laboratories in the world who have a powerful microscope, multiplying many million times. They can do it and show the whole humanity how that fruit fly appears from nothing, from the seed. We all know that fruit flies appear from the ripe fruit when they're rotten fruits, and when it is hot. If we put it under microscope, but magnifies many million times, we can record the first thickness formation of that 3D body until all stages, until it flies, and show the whole world that it starts from imagined rings and develops 3D form. See, this is so amazingly important. We can actually create anything starting from the seed. Create our own seed, record it in the vacuum, and magnify it with the use of control of gravity, and magnify it 4,096 times using octave principle of multiplication. Explained by Walter. Terrence also realized it. In simple words, let's say I was working on that project for many years, for a decade, creating a seed of an electric current, let's say 10 kilowatts. It's a not big power. 10 kilowatts, that's a small power. Mm-hmm. But then record it in the vacuum and magnified it 4,000 times. Then you get 40 megawatts. Wow. And that is about changing the concept of electric power. No central station power, big power station, and then transport and maintenance and everything else. Everybody create electric power there where it is needed in amount which is needed. Let's say you need 100 kilowatts for your house to heat, to cool, to everything else. You get a small unit which is no more big than a cube of a half meter, and then you are independent. There is no maintenance. And that is changing in the concept absolutely amazingly. But when I got information that they got rid of Tesla, when he started to experiment with it, I stopped it. And now I have a big experience, and I have knowledge, and I have information that there are conscious companies on this planet, companies with the leaders who are conscious and who are interested in making benefits for the whole humanity, not just gaining billions in their own pockets, but literally serve the goodness. And if it appears that they hear this, they can contact me and we can realize.
I'm sure they will, because everyone would love to be disconnected from the grid and be self-sufficient.
It's that simple. It's that simple. Let me make it further. In one step, you get 40 megawatts. In the next step, you multiply 4,000 times. You get 160 gigawatts. The most powerful nuclear power plant here on the planet is 27 gigawatts. Uh-huh. So you get 6 times more in 2 simple steps. Right. That would be probably something for Elon Musk. It's as simple as I said. Light rings compress cold of space into heat of matter, and then expand it back into the cold of space, starting from the seed, imagined pattern. So here is on the left side, you see that the universe of rest of the 0 point everywhere, the same one. And here, 4 pairs of imagined light rings. So then starts compression. Go to the next slide. Go to the next slide, please. There, you see on the left, those right links compressing from both sides and meeting in the middle and creating disc-like shape. And then finally, at the maximum of compression, those disc-like shape is prolating and becoming ideal sphere. And that is carbon. the only element in nature who is ideal sphere. And at that point of the maximum compression and maximum rotation, there is a stop in rotation. And rotation goes reverse. And now prolation goes into oblation, flattening at the poles. Next slide. Now start the process of oblation and the flattening at the poles and expanding in the equatorial plane. Here, one, next, and I go to the next slide, please. And then you see here like a Saturn, rings in the equatorial plane. Saturn is a dying planet. That is the process, normal process of dying every piece of matter. Our cells with aging are dying like this. And what is a cancer? Cancer is fast dying, fast expanding cells. That is simple, not known in medical science, in medical profession. And all they should do is revert that compression into expansion into compression. But never mind, we go further. Expansion in the equatorial plane, like a Saturn, and the next slide, back to zero, into C. And that is complete process of creation. Right. And that is valid for every piece of matter. There is no difference for the smallest atom to the whole universe or the whole cosmos. It's amazing, simple, but Walter described it properly. I put it in those pictures in order to clarify that, make it more understandable and simple for everyone can understand it. It's a not big deal, but really. Let's go further, Tim.
So the next theme we're going to talk about is, Terrence Howard talks about a lot, is electromagnetism and gravity. And he's often saying things like the magnetic field is strongly polarized, or gravity is an effect of electricity. And we don't think that's quite right. So Laki, tell us where you think Terrence, what you think Terrence is missing.
Okay, he's missing that everything what is magnetic is still motionless, source of energy, and everything what is electric is motion. This whole universe is electric, made just of motion. And every motion is an electric current. Every motion. There is no magnetic component of the wave. That expands. In order to compress something, we need force and power. And expansion comes from alone as an effect after compression. So I call it electric universe and electric waves, and not electromagnetic waves, because that wrong terminology brought the science to the completely wrong track. And we come and bring it back on the right track, because gravity, Newton's concept of gravity, is absolutely upside down, typical for all scientific laws except atom model, because of that belief in empirical knowledge. Through senses, we get information. Information is upside down of the knowledge, of the truth. So our senses are dual, and they are deceiving us mightily. And so we can turn that upside down in order to get the truth. Newton said, from the center of Earth, gravity pulls that inside. No, from outside, gravity compresses it toward inside, and then expands it immediately, because both compression and expansion are the process of creation, and gravity is compressing and expanding, both compressing and expanding. And gravity, by the way, is not a physical force. It is not a mental force. It is a sensual force. Sensual force. We are sensual beings, and a gravity is a measure of desire for creative expression. The more desire for something to create, the more gravity to compress it and materialize it, solidify it in this 3D reality. And that is the use of gravity. But gravity has also expansional part, not known in science. They talk just about compression. Everything what is compressed must be expanded. And that's what is compressed is a 1% of the matter is visible. It is compressed by the gravity. But the rest of 99%, which is called this time dark matter, because they don't understand, is a matter in a process of creation made by expansional gravity called aerotian. But never mind, it is expansional gravity. To grasp, there is compression, there is expansion. Gravity is doing both compression and expansion.
And when Terrence said things like he's rebuilt Saturn without gravity and things like that, I mean, presumably that's kind of
Tim, everybody has a right to create anything. We all are creating our universes with our thoughts, imagination, and everything else. But only the universes that are created according to the law can exist. That what he is doing cannot be solidified into something tangible. Right. But it exists in some other realms, and he has right to do it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Everybody has right to do it.
One of the dodecahedrons that he was building had 8 electric compressing vortices and then 6 magnetic expanding vortices, as he called them. What's your view on that? Go.
Yes, he was right when he said that the supreme principle in nature is a balance. That supreme principle must be obeyed also by this case where he has imbalance. 8 compressing and 6 expanding on something like that must be equal. The wonderful example is a dodecahedron, the unit of the new energy. I will talk later about it, which is 6 pairs of spirals compressing in and out simultaneously, building a balanced unit in itself, dodeca unit or deca unit, I call it, the unit of the new energy of love. So in my opinion, something is missing there.
So everything we've spoken about so far, I mean, some of the things I've just written down some of the things that he talks about, where he says electricity is equal and opposite of magnetism. Well, we've just talked a lot about the relationship between the magnetic, the 0 point, the stillness, and then the electric, which is the motion. In your view, that can't be right either.
Let me clarify it on the case of a so-called bar magnet. South at the end of the bar magnets. And then the other bar magnet, the north and south, go to each other, and they void each other.
Yep.
Then you have another at the end, north and south. And it is believed that opposite poles attract each other. Opposite cannot attract each other. It's a nonsense. Right. Opposite oppose to each other. Yep. But we really see that one pole goes to the opposite pole, goes to each other. What's the secret? I discovered that of a bar magnet are not attracting each other, but repelling each other and go as far from each other, and we find them at the very end of the bar magnet. If they were attracting each other, they were sitting in the middle, but they are at the very end of the bar. So they are repelling each other because they are opposite, they oppose to each other. And why then plus north and south of those poles, so-called magnetic poles, are electric vortices. They are electric poles. They are high imbalance states. And then high imbalance states seeks the same condition, the other high imbalance state, to void each other and to come back into balance. And that's why everybody knows how bar magnet is made now in lab, high electric current, and they get a magnet. What is recorded in these bars is actually electric current, electric vortices. That is nothing magnetic. Magnetic cannot be connected with motion. Magnetic is motionless.
Motionless.
Yeah, that's it. By the way, this so-called bar magnet can be called gravity bar. That is gravity bar, but that is a lot a lot for to explain. I will not now use the time to go
Yeah, I
into
mean,
detail.
we need to keep everyone in the room if we
Yeah,
can.
of course.
Do you have anything to say about the flower of life as well? We talked a little bit about, you know, the balance and then him using the model of creation as the flower of life. Obviously, you've shown us your model of the creation, which is based on Walter Russell's science. Is there anything more that you want to add about that?
Not actually. Again, he has right to do anything what he perceives, and I have a sympathy to his perception. Actually, as an actor, or not scientifically, how to say, scientifically minded. And so that's very interesting because there is a kind of freedom in his perception, his thinking, and everything else. I like it in a very in many points, but there are also some points where he's completely wrong, like about this imbalance. In a supposedly balanced unit, there is imbalance in compression expansion. That cannot be balanced unit if there is that imbalance. Maybe he got something wrong, but I'm not interested in it. I will explain at the end. I'm not interested in technology. I chose for consciousness. I chose consciousness, and I will explain it later.
Okay, next theme we're going to tackle is the ether, ties in with E equals mc squared and your new equation that sort of replaces that or advances it, shall we say. Terrence talks about things like negative space. He also says that he thinks there are moving vortices in the ether. And what's your view on this?
Consciousness didn't know who is here. The main question was, who am I? And consciousness asked that question, then consciousness expressed and filled the void, nothingness, with the potentials for anything, and that is energy. Created energy, so the void become, and the space become the space, filled the potential for anything, and that is energy in the neutral state. So in my opinion, negative space is a kind of but it does not.
Yeah,
he has right to his perception.
Yeah,
I don't agree with this, but maybe I'm not right. But never mind. Let's talk about Einstein's equation from 1905, famous equation E equal mc squared. And Einstein had all three concepts wrong. Wrong concept of energy, wrong concept of matter, and wrong concept of speed of light. And by the way, he claimed that his equation describes process of expansion, because ever expanded universe in science, ever increasing entropy, and there was not known that there is compression. So when I realized that his equation describes compression, that what didn't exist for him and for science at that time, I laughed about it. I added the missing part in the equation, that is expansion, and replaced matter with time space, one variable, because time space moves within consciousness. That is perception of the consciousness. And then wrote that equation on the right side, which describes fully process of creation, and that is Laki versus Einstein. Einstein believed that it was expansion because he believed in ever expanding universe, and the equation he wrote should have described expansion. But it turns out when I draw the line, it describes properly compression. That part of creation that didn't exist in his mind, in science. In science, there is only expansion, ever expand. You know, Big Bang theory, that stupid theory. Then I wrote the missing part for expansion, because compression is properly explained with his equation, described with his equation, and then they replaced the matter. Replaced with the time space one variable, because everything what moves within consciousness is time space moves within consciousness. Consciousness moves perception. That's why I put it P plus minus. Go please to the next slide. P plus minus, that is the equation, right? Equation is borrowed and repaid credit of time space, which we quantify and measure as electric potential. As electric potential. Every motion is actually electric potential. There is electric current. And C, you see, that was intuitively put a C for speed of light instead of V velocity or S speed or something. They put C. It's a remembrance from our angelic knowledge that it is speed of consciousness, in which consciousness moves. Perception actually reproduces perception of own action, reaction, expansion, compression sequence in the adjacent wave fields, and only in our reality. It's actually frequency of repetition of illusion, because all action, reaction, and all this material creation is a big illusion. And quantum physics knows that there are many people who are talking about simulation. We are living in simulation, so not knowing yet that consciousness is imagining that. And what is consciousness? Who is consciousness? And that is a wonderful picture. I love this picture to explain how compression requires always effort. And this master is pumping the tire, sweating, effort. And when he finishes, this expansion comes from alone. There is no effort for expansion.
Right.
That's beauty. And that the expansion is due to expansional gravity.
Right.
As there is a compressional gravity that compresses, there is gravity which expands, but not from the center, like Terrence believed. Not from the center of gravity, but from within to out. From within to out.
Right.
Now, I have the right concept of energy, right concept of time, space, not matter, and right concept of speed of light. There is my scientific paper. Everybody who wants to investigate it in details can read my paper and can ask me. I will clarify it.
Can you talk a little bit more about the ether as well? What is the ether to you? What do you see the ether as? Because many people in science just say, "Oh, the ether, ridiculous! It doesn't exist." They've already proven that it doesn't exist. So, what's your view?
There is a habit in science when they don't understand something, they put some funny names like ether or dark matter or something like that. It's a very simple. Consciousness expressed itself in order to know itself into nothingness, to know self through experiences, and created human being, which is imagined. Did you see the Miriam Dio? The body is an illusion. We humans, we are imagined. Consciousness imagined us in order through us to experience something and gave us freedom to choose what to experience. But all these experiences are experiences of the consciousness at the same time. So when that void that is filled with the potential for anything, which is energy, it became space. And that is all that exists. Space and consciousness moves perception of everything. If you throw the ball in the air, it is time, space moving through consciousness. It is not ball moving through the space as interpreted in science. It is described in my papers in details.
We'll leave a link to all of your papers so people can deep dive into that, which is great.
I wanted just to make it clear that there was a vacuum or nothingness before consciousness created energy as a potential for anything and filled that vacuum with that potential and created space. And that's why now nowhere in the universe you can find a vacuum. We can create vacuum in laboratory, but in universe there is nowhere vacuum. It is a space vacuum filled with potentials, with energy for anything, and time, space moves through consciousness. Because it's all consciousness. who wants to believe in ether and mystics, they can believe.
Yep.
That is their perception. I appreciate.
The next topic we're going to talk about is the Coulomb law and correct the Coulomb law. So Terrence was saying that the Coulomb force that supposedly opposites attract and push each other away, that was true. Now, we talked a bit about magnetism earlier on and the illusion of magnetism, but I now want to talk specifically about the Coulomb law and show what's actually happening in an electrolysis experiment. So can you explain what we're seeing here?
The Coulomb law is a wonderful example which demonstrates that everything what is believed in science is opposite of the truth. They say opposite attract each other. The real underlying law in the whole creation is same attract each other. Same conditions attract each other. Opposite conditions opposed to each other. And we have a wonderful example, demonstration is electrolysis. You have a anode and cathode on the left, anode on the right. Cathode is a negative electrode. It attracts the same quality from the water, which is oxygen, is negative. Even in science, oxygen is 2 negative valence, and then leaves the positive quality out. Hydrogen will be released on the cathode. On the anode is opposite. Anode is positive, attracts positive quality from the water, which is hydrogen, and leaves oxygen as a negative quality free, and that is, you get oxygen here. And that is so simple and a nice example to understand the universal law, same attract each other. Same attract each other, not opposite. By the way, logically incorrect to say that opposite each other. Every 7-year-old kid would immediately ask you, but why you call them opposite if they attract each other? And the whole scientific community and the universities and professors and institutions are hypnotized with that simple mental masturbation. Not only that, but that is all consequence, effect of the not understanding, deception of human senses, which deliver us upside down of the truth, and firmly believing in that what we see and trying to find some models, explain it, satisfy with some measurements. So that's all mental masturbation. The laws are simple, the logic is so simple. We understand it now, and we throw out of the window all these upside down laws. The only concept which does not have even that virtue, that is opposite of the true law or the true concept, is a concept of atom. Nowhere in the universe there is a case when one polarity goes on the other side of polarity. One electron cycling around the nucleus. There is no electron, there is no nucleus. There are light rings spinning it out around centering 0 point. Period.
Fantastic. Because the traditional explanation of this is that there are negative and positive ions that are exchanged and everything else, and they make up some model. But ultimately,
that's all, Tim. That's all mental masturbation. Forget it. Let them doing MM further. That's their problem, not ours.
That's what I like about this experiment, because you can just very clearly show, according to Walter Russell's science, ultimately,
of course,
and according to the correct version of the atom, you can show very simply how like attracts like, and then you get the hydrogen released at the cathode, and then like attracts like, and then you get the oxygen released at the anode. So thank you for clearing that up, because that's going to be a revelation for a lot of people.
Then I would like to clarify a little bit about water. Water is not what is meant in science at all. Water is H12O6. And you see here, water is a result of avoidance of two unbalanced and opposed conditions caused by equalizing opposed pressures at static equators. And on the next slide,
I mean, that's quite a big thing, isn't it? I mean, to actually change people's perception of water from H2O to H12O6.
Yeah, of course. I have a paper published about water, explain that is H12O6, and then explain that crystalline structure from Masaru Emoto.
Yeah.
You have a hexagonal structure clearly recorded and confirmed million times. And why water crystallizes in hexagonal structure? Because it is H12O6,
yep.
like here in this picture.
It looks exactly like a snowflake, right? It looks like a snowflake. So you've got visual
complex,
and kind of real world back up to all of this. That's what I love about it. And seeing the O, which is surrounded by 3 H's, that just has that symmetry to it, doesn't it? Yeah. Amazing. So leave a link to your paper about H12O6 as well.
Yeah, there is truth about water or something like that title. You can find, everybody can find, of course.
Yeah.
And then the next picture, that is wonderful picture from Walter Russell, explaining how radioactive elements in small quantities destroy underneath in rocks, destroy these rocks and create pressure conditions for oxygen and hydrogen. And they then unite and create water underneath. And that is how all waters on this planet have been created and are creating right now. And then there are rocks and there are gases and oil and everything in the same way, changing the pressure conditions through activity of the radioactive elements, which are so powerful that they destroy rocks and create a pressure condition, and finally creating a fertile soil at the surface.
Great. So I want to move on to the next topic, which is Platonic solids, matter, and the dodecahedron. Terrence often said things like, Platonic solids can't be put together, for example. There's another thing about matter, because I remember Joe Rogan saying to him, where does matter come from? And he said, well, that's condensation. So can you speak to, well, let's talk about Platonic solids first. What's your view on that? I know you're a big fan of the dodecahedron. Can you tell us a bit more about why?
I would like here first to talk about new energy and changing in paradigm living duality.
Yeah.
Because we human beings have evolved so further, so high, so to say, that we have decided to move out of the duality, experienced enough duality, and move out of duality and get in support. We have created for ourselves a new energy of balance, energy of harmonization, energy which has no power, no force, no fear, no efforting. The main tools in creation with the dual energy are power, force, fear, efforting, creation which is hard, complicated, inefficient, and expensive. And the new energy is opposite of that. Everything easy, simple, efficient, and cheap, creation with joy, simplicity, passion, and allowance. It's a something what was not present when Volta and Nikola Tesla were creating. But it is something new, what Lucky discovered that is being created with this. And I love my teachers, Walter and Nikola, because I'm thankful to them. I stand on their shoulders, and that's why I can see further. Yep. And I'm thankful to my teachers and love them for that. And somebody will come after me also and stand on my shoulders and see further. That's normal process of evolution, nothing special, and that will come very soon, because those kids they have open many higher DNA levels. There are 12 DNA levels. Most of them are born with 10 or even 12 DNA levels. They are real wonder. They will make it this civilization make a real civilization of joy and love. Yeah. So the unit of the new energy is on the next slide, please. Is a dodecahedron. That is the old way. Is hard work, sweating, paddling, and everything else. Yeah. And the new way is just letting scenery go, doing nothing and moving. That sounds impossible, but it's possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what then, I like, if I could just tell you what I like about this model and this comparison is
Yes.
that picture that you paint of, for example, a dam where there's a whole load of water behind the dam, and then the dam opens up and all the water comes down the chute, and then it turns a turbine, and all of this force comes down the tunnel, and then all of that electricity gets then farmed out onto the grid. And all of that is a representation of power, right? Of force. And that's the old way that we provide energy to our homes, for example. And the new way is much more graceful, and it's effectively based on our conscious understanding of energy and our direction of energy. So once we understand what energy is, we can actually use our conscious intent to command it to do what we want. And it's all graceful with ease, and it's harmonious with the environment as well.
Yeah, yes, there is a little problem with it that anybody can create for self only if it's doing with consciousness and directly allowing an energy and commanding energy to fulfill some requirements, to fulfill conscious intent. You cannot do it for others except for yourself. I can do it also for myself. My challenge is now to create in my house constant temperature, just commanding energy to keep it constant 24 degrees Celsius, but still didn't reach it. It's a challenge. But creation with a new energy, new in the new era of the electricity, because everything is based on electricity. You have everything on electricity. Electricity is needed. Is that what I have said? Creating a pattern of an electric power like a 10 kilowatts, multiplying it by use of gravity 4,000 times and getting 40 megawatt in one simple step, and so cheap, unbelievable cheap. Yeah, so that's the future. So the unit of new energy is Dodeca.
What's happening here?
It comes. The Deca is playful, is reading our thoughts and playing with us, going to bring solution for our questions. It's a conscious unit of energy. Conscious unit responds to my consciousness, to your consciousness. When I created it, I asked to play something here, and that look how it plays.
Yeah.
And then comes the next one. It smiles and plays also. It's a conscious unit. Okay. Okay. Not too much about it. A new energy is a real wonder. It's a simplicity to creation with the new energy is coming, and there are ongoing huge monumental changes on this planet, and the main game player is a new energy. I will talk by the opportunity about it as a special topic, and we go now further. You know, matter is made out of light.
Yeah.
Not sunlight in this visible, what we perceive, lamp and some other light, but light of consciousness. That is light of consciousness, light of the soul, light of I am, light of I exist. And that is compressed into the matter and expanded back into the seed, into the seed, which is recorded my desire to create something, or your desire. That is the right concept of matter.
Yeah.
So
and we showed that in the slides earlier on, right? We saw that whole sequence.
Yes. And energy, a right concept of energy is compressed desire, because consciousness has a desire to express itself and to go to experience in order to know self. And that compressed desire is a consciousness, is actually communication with the whole creation, with the consciousness itself, because everything what is created is a consciousness. Consciousness is a tree. Consciousness is your body, is my body. In this house, everything what is created is consciousness.
It's
Without consciousness, nothing can exist. Nothing. And there leaves huge aha effect. When you understand that consciousness is awareness, and if you want to create something, when you become aware of it, your awareness creates that what you are aware of it according to your desire, which is in your heart. And that is the basis of huge changes on this planet, because on this planet there are 300 plus million of people who are awakened and who know, who are aware of themselves, who they are, and who know that they create with awareness. And just awareness, no fight, no force, no fear, nothing. You go enjoy your life. If you are fisher, go fishing. If you are writer, go write. If you are artist, go experience your art. Do whatever. But let awareness to change it, and then awareness creates light, and light compresses and changes everything. And this civilization and this planet will be transmuted and created into planet of joy.
We will ascend. Yeah. And it's interesting
of course, planet will ascend, and we humans are ascending, and that there is much about it, and there is much about it. It's a special topic, very hot one, and to explain the process of creation, to explain what it means when consciousness experiencing something and gaining wisdom, and that wisdom joins to the old light, making a new light, and that new light is coming now to the planet Earth and changing everything. Nobody and no one can stop that process. Never, ever that process can be stopped. It is an ongoing process which will change everything, and then make this planet the most precious planet in the whole creation, because on this planet we human beings discovered love. Love was not known when consciousness started to create. God is not love. That is a big lie, mental masturbation. God has no clue what love is before we here on this planet discovered love.
Right.
And we are the most powerful beings in the whole creation, and we should be proud of ourselves and be aware of our greatness. And my motto for all of us and for your listeners and those who will watch and listen it later, be aware of your greatness. There are no other civilization, no other beings in universe, in the whole creation, that are more powerful, more advanced, more intelligent, and more sacred and divine than we human beings. We are at the very top.
Such a positive message. And what I like about your science is that it explains exactly how powerful we are as creators with our imagination and our conscious intent.
Of course.
Obviously, Terrence Howard created a huge storm when he started talking about 1 × 1 = 2. I can actually see the logic behind that, that you can't have 1 × 1 and then that equal 1. But we're not going to talk necessarily so much about that. I know that, for example, Eric Bernstein was critiquing Terrence Howard and showing that his model for the linchpin was kind of imperfect. And I think they started talking about Pythagorean commas and things like that. But one of the equations that he put forward was related to pi. So it had pi factored into the equation. He was saying, well, you've made this thing that's imperfect. And that's what's fascinating about his linchpin. But what struck me is that I know you have put forward a different value of pi, a different equation for pi. So could you talk us through that and what, how you got to that?
Move to the next slide, but I will. Okay. First of all, I want to stress something very important. 1 is 1 and cannot be other than 1. It can seem to be. So you can say 1 + 1 is anything, because One is all there is.
Yeah.
And you cannot divide or multiply it because it is one. You can seem to do it, and that's why consciousness is one. And consciousness is unmovable creator and controller of existence. That is one. Each of us has our own oneness. I exist means I have my own energy, I have my own light, I have my own gravity, my own time space, everything personal. There is not universal consciousness and universal field and universal forces. It is a wrong concept. It is a wrong concept. Everything starts from I exist. It is personal. I can change my time space and move out of mass consciousness and not be in that time space of mass consciousness. And that's challenge, of course. But let us move to the pi number.
Yep.
That's interesting story. When I heard from one entity called Cryon that other civilization are laughing and ridiculous us because we still don't know the right value of the pi number. It was in 2004. And at that very moment, I sprung and said, I will find the right number. And they will not ridicule us. At that moment, I made such a powerful decision that I couldn't slow down for 10 minutes walking around my room. So, and then immediately start writing something, but what to write? No idea. And took me 10 years until in my daydreaming, one day, 2017, I believe, I realized that 1-0 numerologically is the whole creation. But one is beginning and 0 is not number, it's a potential for anything. So if I apply holographic principle, I must divide it with pi and the result must be the same. That's a holographic principle. Every piece of eternity is also eternal and infinite, of infinity. So 10 divided by pi is equal pi. It follows pi square is 10. Pi is square root of 10 here. Pi is square root of 10. Right. It is portal from non-physical to physical. And then with that pi number, I solved easily the challenge, the problem, which is unsolvable in science with the official pi, 3.142 and so on. It's a little bit more, 3.1622, but it makes much. And I solved that problem of squaring the circle. There is in my paper. Who wants detail can prove it and can make it by itself.
Can you explain the squaring of the circle?
In details here. Mm-hmm. Oh, I would say, Tim, if you are interested in, I can make on a table and make it step by step explaining. It has no sense explaining here. Nobody would get it.
Okay.
But in details, it is in my paper.
It's a huge topic. So yeah, I think that there will be some demand for that. Yeah. With the new value of pi, what does that give us? What does that open up for us in terms of our?
Yeah, always creative with this pi. If you create a circle with this pi and then harmonic values of it, like 2 times, 5 times, and so on. Right. And that then you have opened with that the divine energies to come into this reality, into your creation. And that's a special dimension. The whole journey of us human beings here on the planet who separated
let's move on. Let's get on to the next one. The next topic we're going to talk about is mathematics.
Creator, not that we possess soul. Soul possesses us, created us with imagination. And that's why we say, I say my soul as an honor to my creator. And then the point is to open up, to allow my soul, my divinity, come into my body. That's my body, not me. That's my body. And then walk as a divine human on this planet. And that is a master. That's why I say I'm a master. I'm a master because I allowed my soul to come in my body, and we walk together and experience whatever we choose to experience. But it is absolutely different experience than that ego aspect separated from the soul.
Wonderful. That's such a positive message. And it seems like now is the time that that's all going to happen.
I would add something.
Yep.
I would add something that for his flying miracle, how you call it?
The linchpin, I think. Yep.
Linchpin. Yes. He decided for technology, and I appreciate acceptance, total acceptance, absolute acceptance. But I decided for consciousness, and he must know, should know, and realize that consciousness creates everything. Yep. Consciousness creates technology, consciousness creates AI, and that's why consciousness controls and guides technology and AI and everything else. And my decision, in my perception, my view, is right for consciousness. So, but he has right for technology. And by the way, my humble opinion, my humble suggestions for them, don't linearize the universe and everything human thinking here. They translate it on the universe and think it is linear and so on, and want to fly from here to Mars. I say them, universe is circular with concentric cycles, and if they learn how to bridge over to the next circle, to the next circle, they will be in a split of a second on a Mars, any other planet, because it's here, it's not there. Right. That perception of the linear distance is absolutely wrong. That's a mental masturbation. But okay, they have right to deal with it.
So another thing that Terrence Howard talks about a lot is the 3, the 6, and the 9, and it's something that everyone talks about in terms of like Tesla's magic numbers. So can you give us any other perspective on that? Any new knowledge?
Of course, I have my own perception about it. First of all, creation is a product of imagination, and what I imagine, the one which is consciousness, must imagine two which void each other because they cannot exist. 1 plus 2 is 3, and that is the secret of the number 3. One consciousness is imagining in pairs. It must be so because they have to void each other. They cannot exist. It's illusion. It's imagination. So 1 plus 2 is equal 3. And then number 6. Here, you see the slide here. Space has a cubic form, and you have 2 spirals in poloidal direction and 4 in equatorial direction. The lowest right picture. You see the spirals here, how they are drawn by Walter Russell.
Picture D. Yeah.
That's the secret of number 6. And then we go further to explain the secret of number. You see here on the right here, the small picture. 2 spirals in the vertical direction, in horizontal direction, equatorial direction. There are 4. 2 plus 4 is equal 6.
Right.
That is the secret of the number 6. And then go to the next slide. That is so-called gyroscopic principle from Walter Russell, what is wonderful because there is only one shape in the universe: cube, sphere, and sphere cube. Space is compressed has a cubic geometry, is compressed into the sphere, and sphere is expanded back into the cube. Cube, sphere, sphere, cube. That's all. But cube has 8 octants, and that's why we have 4 pairs. 4 times 2 is equal 8, plus centering 0 is 9, and that is secret of the number 9. And 9 is, by the way, the number of completion. It's known in numerology also. 9 is a number of completion, and that's my perception. But when we go further, I can explain a little bit more about the process of creation with more details. using just two light rings.
Okay.
Next slide. Here, I've drawn this to show how it would go with the two rings only, because they would also create everything what four pairs of rings create with a carbon in the middle. Go on the next slide. There are two from both sides compressing and meeting in the middle. Right. And that is obvious here. They cannot exist. Only I am, the one who is imagining, is existing, can exist. So the next slide, please. The more rings come from the right and left and meet in the middle, they build a disc-like shape. I call it proton dance because it is charging process. We want to make something similar with the scientific terminology, and that's why I call it a proton dance, charging. Go further, please. More proton dance. Further proton dance. Disc-like shape is prolating, and the next slide is more prolating. More rings come from the right and the left and join together, and then finally next slide you see they build a sphere in the middle, and I call it Mr. Neutron, because at the maximum of compression there is stop in motion, and that is why it's called neutron. It's not charging, not discharging, it's neutral, and right. That is the moment when we perceive the linear time, because that stop in motion is the moment when we perceive duration between event of compression and expansion, and that's where we perceive a linear time. And when we go now, everything rotation goes into opposite direction, and now it starts flattening at the poles and expanding in the equatorial plane. Go to the next slide, please, Tim. And that I call Miss Electron. But that's just to keep a little bit scientific terminology. It was difficult to draw that in equatorial plane, but I drawn it in a perspective a little bit. And then next, Mr. Electron is expanding. Go to the next slide. That what was compressed in the sphere is flattening at poles and expanding in the equator. And go next. More expansion of Mr. Electron, and then more expansion of Mr. Proton back into the space, right. Into the seed, and starting that process again, compression stop, and notice that compression and expansion are under 90 degrees.
Right.
That is a poloidal direction and in the equatorial direction.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just one other thing that Terrence is very keen on talking about, which is that there are no straight lines in nature. Obviously, that links up with our view that the atom is a torus field, which obviously has no straight lines as well. But I know you've got some more information and knowledge to share about that. So
he's right. There are no straight lines, and Einstein also confirmed that if you go to the universe and around the whole universe, you will come back to the same point, because the universe is made of circles, of concentric circles. It is not linear. It is not square. It is concentric circles, and that's why curvature. Universe is curved. Curvature is the only tool which gravity uses in order to both compress and expand. And that he was right with that. But there is some other point which is very, very interesting for people who pretend to discover something. There are no parallel light rays in the universe. Light rays which are coming from the sun are not parallel. When they leave the sun, they go in by concave spherical space and expand. But when they enter Earth's atmosphere, they will be compressed. So you have conical waves, light waves which come to the Earth, and the people who are making optical devices, if they knew that and construct appropriate lenses, they could record holographic immediately. Not like with this camera. Maybe I would love if some of those people can succeed it and get the idea. That would be wonderful. I would love it. And the rain, when rain falls down, it is conical. It is not straight down. It
Yep.
is conical. Also, because there are that equipressure spherical surfaces around the Earth which act like lenses. And that's why I wrote one paper with the title, This is Optical Universe of Gravity Controlled Light. And there is no reason to call it electricity, because everything is about lenses and optics and light. So the reason about they call it electricity and so on because of electron. Supposedly electron does not exist. They imagine that, but okay, this is optical universe of gravity controlled light.
It really does change our whole reality. Everything that you teach actually changes our whole reality, which is and gives us well what I think is the truth.
That's why I'm a master. That's why I'm a master. Thank you, Tim. I love working with you, and it's really we are compatible, so to say. Let me clarify a little bit more about sense deception, because it doesn't seem so obvious. People are accustomed and they trust their eyes. And look here, that's from Walter Russell. Wonderful. You draw, you take a pencil and piece of paper and draw a circle, and ever smaller circles come in the middle, and then don't change direction. You continue and expand the circle, and come out here on the left side. And you see, it looks like the two opposite directions, but I didn't change direction.
Right.
So one direction creates two opposite effects in the middle, dense pressure condition, and the outer circumference is less dense pressure condition. So two opposites in the middle and outer circumstances. In my presentation, I used this apple.
The apple, yeah.
To explain it. I have an equator of my body aligned with the equator of this apple, north, south, and then I rotate from me to you. It is obvious one direction of rotation, but for the Tim who is looking from here, it is from left to right. That is clockwise direction.
Yep.
From the one who is here from this side, it is from right to left. It is counterclockwise. So one direction of motion produces two opposite effects, clockwise and counterclockwise, and both of them are illusion. That's the deception of the senses. I know that there is one direction of motion.
Right.
And that's wonderful. Walter wrote here, nature's one direction of motion produces two opposite effects. And we should not believe effects because they are opposite, they are illusion. The real truth, he used to say mind knows, but it is actually consciousness knows. That is a little clarification why all concepts in science except atom concept are opposite of the true concepts, because they trust senses, and senses are deceiving us mightily.
Yep.
And my last point is one amazing practical value of the Walter Russell's knowledge.
Okay.
It is shared in his book, immortal book, The Atomic Suicide, with question mark. He explained what is radioactivity, how radioactivity is killing atmosphere, is a killing oxygen, is a killing human body, killing organic life, because it's a so powerful radiation that expands everything. And he explained that the nature of radioactivity and the main purpose of radioactivity in the creation is because radioactive elements, they call it nuclear element, but it's mental masturbation. There is no nucleus. That radiation does not come from nucleus. It is expansion of the light rings. So radioactive elements are distributed in small quantities on a huge volume, so that their enormous power of destruction destroys rocks and creates pressure conditions for hydrogen and oxygen, low pressure gases, and hydrogen and oxygen unite and create water. That's how water is created. And further, that process goes so that at the surface, it creates fertile soil. It creates everything what is needed for oxygen life to blossom. So now the idea is to get rid of nuclear waste by putting it the same way back into the whole desert and make a desert green, turn it into agriculture area, and for zero money to get rid of nuclear waste, to solve the problem of climate change, which is actually the funny word for radioactive dying atmosphere. Yes, it is on my website. That is the solution, RBI 101. And because of that solution, my channel, Master Lucky 101, was removed and deleted on YouTube, on Google, and I am now forbidden to put even any comment to any video. The moment I put something in that line for comment, it disappears, everything. And it doesn't matter. Truth cannot be prevented.
You're being banned because you're telling too much truth. That's the.
But there is on my website, second, third, fourth, fifth, and the sixth link on my website is about it, described in details. There are 2 videos. There is an article of 40 pages. Everything is described in the PowerPoint presentation. Everything. And I did one more thing. Sometimes I'm proud of myself. Maybe there is. I have realized the importance of that. And then I apply for patent. And my patent was approved. But I did not protect my patent anywhere, because there is a 1 year time to protect it. If not, that idea is killed. Nobody can patent. Right. And my idea was, if I paid 5,000, doesn't matter, for that procedure, and got the patent approved, and then kill it in 1 year, didn't protect it anywhere, and now everybody can use it for free. It is for free, nothing to give to me or anybody else. But you should know, only governmental agencies and governments have access to nuclear waste, and they are not interested to solve that problem because they are, from one side, turning huge money on it. People are paying for it, of course, and from the other side, I mean, when you listen to Bill Gates,
they don't want to solve problems, do they?
Depopulation, it is in service of depopulation. Yeah, but maybe there will be some new leaders and new governments who will become aware of it. I especially believe that African government, African countries are waking up, and they will take it and turn the desert into agriculture areas and to forests, and then release a huge amount of oxygen in the atmosphere, rebalance our atmosphere, because radioactivity killed the oxygen in atmosphere, dropped the level of oxygen in our atmosphere to less than 18%. 2,000 years ago, it was 39%. Wow. Oxygen is the fuel for organic life.
Yeah. So that's what's changing the climate. Yeah. Well, look, it's great that you've brought that and you've gifted that to humanity. All I can do is try and draw attention to it and share this with as many people as I can find, to show them that because of your knowledge about the atom, about radiation, about the importance of balance, you've not only given me a product that I'm selling to the world, the Omnia Radiation Balancer, which are, stickers that harmonize all the electromagnetic field radiation that comes out of a phone or any wireless device, but you've also solved the problem, on paper at least, of nuclear waste, which we know is such a huge danger to society and the environment. So all we can do is try and draw attention to this new idea that you can actually bury it in the sand and then it produces fertile land because of the science that you've talked us throughout this whole presentation.
The next slide. I believe that's the very end, and that is a beautiful message. In vain we do build a city if we not first build a man. So that's the greatness of human, higher universal man. Only we, human beings, higher universal men, possess that divine feeling called compassion. And we create compassion. And that's why we are the most sacred and powerful and the most, the greatest beings in the creation. And we are at the very, very, very top. I repeat once again my message for all of you who are becoming aware that you are consciousness, that you are angels incarnating in the physical body for the purpose discovering who you are and solving the relation between consciousness and energy. It's already done. Consciousness is a boss, energy is servant of consciousness, so that each and every one of us has its own energy, unlimited, and that is the reason why we are sovereign and free beings. We can use our energy for our creation, independent on anything else, anybody else. So
that's such a positive message, because the way that I like to picture that or illustrate that is when we use the electricity grid, you know, the grid that brings all of the energy into our laptops and whatever. When we use all of the power from the grid, we are the slave to that power grid, right? So we take the energy off the grid, we pay for it, repeat. You know, every time you run out of electricity or power, you keep having to go back to the grid to pay for it, right? And the opposite of that is that energy is actually our servant. So rather than us be slave to the energy grid, we are now commanding energy. Once we understand that important relationship between consciousness and energy, which is where, you know, which is everything that you've told us about in this talk.
Yes, that's my challenge now, to create the temperature in my house 24 degrees Celsius, independent from the outside temperature, just using my energy. No any material fuel, no coal, no wood, no electricity, nothing. Just using energy. And when
you've done that, there'll be a big queue of people wanting to know how you did it. So
I'm really on the good way to reach it. And also don't forget that that new concept of the electric power, because everything now here this is a civilization of electricity, and Nikola Tesla is a father of this civilization of electricity. And this civilization of electricity in that transitional phase needs electrical devices to produce electric power and to use it in homes, in factories, and everywhere, in traffic and everywhere else. So to produce electric power there where it is needed and in amount that is needed. I repeat again, it's possible to record seed of, let's say, electric power of 10 kilowatts, not that much, then record it in the vacuum as a seed and multiply according to the octave multiplication principle 8 times 8 to 64 times 8, 512, 5 times 8, 4,096 times. From 10 kilowatts, you get out 40 megawatts. 40 megawatts is a huge energy. Yeah, but only in 2 simple steps. That's absolutely crazy for the car. 1 megawatt is a top. The racing cars need 1 megawatt. You can start with 1 kilowatt and get 4 megawatts. That's amazing.
Well, that's a great vision for the future, to be able to do that and provide solutions with grace and ease, rather than with force and power, as we mentioned earlier on. I think that's a great vision for the world. So thank you for bringing that to us. So I just want to say thank you very much, Laki, Professor Ilija Lakicevic, thanks for coming on and talking us through all of those amazing aspects of Walter Russell's science and beyond, and showing us what you've measured and how you've shown us that the truth in science about the atom, about the torus field of light and the 0 point and everything else. If there's anything else that you'd like to say before we wrap it up.
Just one final remark. It was my honor and my pleasure, my joy, really, because I gained that knowledge in order to share. And that's my passion, that I'm born teacher. And my final remark, be aware of your greatness.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it is.
Absolutely. Forget all the trauma narratives and everything else and be aware of our greatness. Such a wonderful message and a great way to finish. Thanks so much for sharing all your knowledge today. And maybe we'll do another one about the squaring of the circle, because I think that would be really exciting.
With pleasure.
All right. Well, thanks very much. And yeah, we'll leave all of the links to your papers in the show notes. But if you can't find them, contact me at omniaradiationbalancer.com and I can share them with you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.